Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro. It's time for updated Oscar predictions for January 2021. The nominations are at the end of February. We're actually getting pretty close, fellas. It's only a couple movies that haven't premiered, and we've got so many critics awards, which I've tallied all the wins and all the nominations, so we know who's winning these critics awards, and we can only speculate what differences these major bodies will have to the critics' bodies.
Now, you're still thinking Trial of Chicago 7 for number one. I think that there's not a number one between that and Nomadland.
No, I kind of agree with that.
I don't think there is a number one. Having seen Nomadland a second time, I now love the movie. I can see it winning. I get that it doesn't really have a story per se, and it can leave you looking for more of like something to grasp onto. So they kind of have like a classic decision. Indie, darling, critics love it versus like more of like a crowd-pleasing conventional pick.
One of these movies feels like a Best Picture winner, and the other does not.
Sometimes they go with the Green Book. Sometimes they go with the Moonlight. Who knows what they will do this year?
You got to think about the normies too, because obviously the critics circles cannot resist Nomadland.
Do you think that Chicago needs at least one other Best Picture win besides the Oscars?
Yeah, I know. If it doesn't win PGA, I'm like done with it. And Nomadland is probably going to win Critics' Choice, probably going to win BAFTA. Like I think so. Golden Globes also, like if they don't go with Trial, I feel like that's their wheelhouse. But it's definitely solidified as a 2-horse race.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing else I can see winning. We can try to make the case for other movies. Like you can try to do that, but it's just fairy tales. 99% sure it's one or the other.
Because Mank is not everybody's cup of tea. Like the Rotten Tomatoes audience score is like in the lower 60s.
Mank, there's just no way it wins, but it'll probably get nominated. It's hard to resist.
And it's not doing that well with the critics circles. Like it's doing okay. It's probably going to get in there. And then we have Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which I feel like is a really safe pick. It has really great critic reviews. Audience score is less good, but it's actually pretty decent. 79% Rotten Tomatoes is not bad. It's getting a lead actor win, a lead actress nomination at the least. So, I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah, that one's
picture. Obvious. And The Father, I think, is pretty, it feels kind of sturdy to me.
When you see those editing nominations popping up, then that can be a good sign, especially that it's kind of locked in for a screenplay and the actors.
Even a couple directing nominations I've seen.
Very strong.
And then we have Promising Young Woman entering the top 10. Something has fucking been happening with this movie. It's having a get out moment, folks. People revisit the film. They recognize that it is culturally significant.
Even if you don't love it, you're like, huh. And you think about it and you talk about it with other people. Like the conversation around this film, maybe there's even a slight advantage to it being controversial and people not really knowing what to make of it because it really does have a long-lasting dialogue behind it.
Carey Mulligan's in the race. The screenplay's really in the race, getting director nominations at Critics Circles. Critics Circles, it's actually one of the best performers in terms of like what's showing up and getting nominations.
And what's interesting about that is you would not think based on the Metacritic score that this would do as well as it's doing in the Critics Circles, and yet it is.
I feel like this movie's just everywhere. The screenplay win convo. Even Carey Mulligan, some people think she could win. It kind of makes me want to put it even higher.
Minari, some people think this could be a sleeper Best Picture winner. And I'm kind of interested. Clayton Davis from Variety said that.
I don't know about that.
And
it's doing pretty well with critics groups. It has a couple wins, in fact. And I actually do sense that it's the kind of movie that can appeal to audiences because it's just very universal about family and the American dream.
I think I think that movie gets nominated though. There are more people who love it than there are people who love One Night in Miami, I think. I could see it actually moving up though. I could see it where at the end of the year, it enters like top 4.
One Night in Miami, on the other hand, if we look at my awards tally, out of any movie in this top 10 aside from Judas because it's not premiering, it's actually not getting many nominations. In fact, only one critics group has nominated this movie so far. I think audiences will like it.
It's very charming and pleasing and like comfy. I could see Academy like minded people being like, oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, and I think Leslie Odom Jr. is being secure. I think screenplays.
But I agree that it's kind of below like the ones we just talked about. It's just more ambiguous. Like, where are the fans?
I think that 7 and down, I'm kind of like, I think there's a risk of dropping off. Judas and the Black Messiah, number 9. I believe we're going to see some social media reactions for this one very soon. There's a little bit of early word about it. The reactions seem like there's somewhat of a mixture, but overall very positive, saying that Kaluuya could win, saying that Lakeith Stanfield's like excellent. Could the movie get a cinematography nomination, an editing nomination, a screenplay? And it's also, this very important story, perhaps a little bit of an antidote to Trial of Chicago 7's optimism.
I think that belongs here for now, but let's suppose that it just doesn't get the hype. What else gets in? I guess you have The Five Bloods in your top 10 for the first time since before it came out.
It's doing really well with critic circles. Delroy Lindo's getting in there. It looks like it could get a cinematography nomination. Chadwick Boseman's actually getting a lot of hype for this. Maybe
Spike Lee for director, I think, could be pretty solid because the race is kind of dry this year.
Critics seem to get it, but a lot of people are not really getting the movie. And I do think there's some overconfidence in The Five Bloods because I feel like it's First Man or something like that. That's how I feel. I feel like it's not
even.
Or Beale Street, it just doesn't get in there.
It's not even though, because in a normal year, I don't think this would have a shot.
And then we have Sound of Metal, which could fucking surprise. I feel like Sound of Metal could get like a Critics' Choice nomination. And then
maybe
it could surprise on Oscar morning.
Maybe, yeah. It can be there. It can be there. I guess you were saying Soul is not getting nominated, but yeah. I still think a lot of people really like it. I think it could squeeze in maybe if there's 9. I don't think it's on the same level of love and respect as like Up and Toy Story 3.
Letterboxd loves it. IMDb loves it, but they also love Coco. Coco is one of the highest rated Pixar movies on IMDb, but that wasn't a Best Picture contender. I feel like Soul might be going for that same fate.
Hillbilly Elegy, I'm not gonna say it's out until I see the nominations, pretty much. People are saying that the screenings do well with the Academy, but maybe just on reputation alone, this can't get in. US vs. Billie Holiday, we haven't heard much from. We haven't seen a trailer. People have gotten screeners, apparently.
There's sort of a buzz that it might not be like Best Picture material, maybe actors. Mauritanian seems like it's campaigning right now. We don't have reactions yet, although I've seen a couple people post theirs who perhaps didn't know there was an embargo, and they seem to really like it. Be a big crowd pleaser. I feel like critics are going to think it's good, not great. We have to wait and see, maybe audiences beg to differ. I don't know.
I guess you have to just have News of the World in there. I guess you do.
Yeah. Director. We have a new number 1 this time around, folks. Chloe Zhao bests David Fincher. And maybe a lot of people saw this coming and were just late to the party, but Chloe Zhao is basically unstoppable for winning director awards. There is freaking one award that she hasn't won. If everybody's just in agreement that we need to give Chloe Zhao director, why are we not giving her director? David Fincher's not winning director now. He's not even getting that many nominations. In fact, he's tied with Sorkin, Florian Zeller, in terms of how many director nominations he's getting.
Yeah, at this point, it's a stretch to say that he's going to win based on his overdueness alone, because that's kind of all it would be. Based on, merit, people seem to agree that Chloe Zhao is like the way to go. And I completely agree with that.
Aaron Sorkin seems kind of like a safe number 3, although I think he's going to be snubbable until the end because the director's branch, snubbing Bradley Cooper, snubbing Ben Affleck, stuff like that.
But the question is, who is more secure? And I think everybody here is kind of snubbable in their own way.
Except for maybe
for the 2. So Emerald Fennell, I think, deserves to be in the top 5. She has the second most nominations of anybody when it comes to the critic circles for director. This makes sense. If you like Promising Young Woman, it's obvious that you have this talent in front of you that you need to nominate. We have a year where there's a lot of plays and a lot of like more subtle or maybe like average camera work, and Promising Young Woman stands out absolutely. I will be very happy if this gets it, and I think it will.
The Father is getting potentially editing and maybe production design nominations. Like, I think people are really appreciating the craft of that film, the directing of the performances. Amor got nominated for a director for a similar sort of movie.
I would put Spike Lee here.
I
think Spike Lee is actually like not that unlikely to get nominated. If Da 5 Bloods is in picture, I think director has a pretty good shot of going along with it. He's actually one of the only directors that's like been around and been nominated before in this category.
Could Da 5 Bloods even get a director nomination without a picture nomination?
I think maybe, just out of respect for him. Lee Isaac Chung for Minari, we could see that happen.
Yep.
Depends how much they love Minari.
Remember Ben Zeitlin getting a nom? I just feel like that's kind of similar, And then Regina King used to kind of be a top 5 sort of deal.
And a lot of people still think she's in the top 5.
I don't think the movie's a top 5 contender.
It's hard to say that One Night in Miami is like a huge achievement in directing. She would really be, I think, getting in based off of like respect and love for her as like a filmmaker and actress overall, or just as a person. And I'm not sure the director's branch will go there.
Shaka King, I think, could happen because that movie kind of seems like it's going to be very stylistic.
I think this is a real basket because you have George C. Wolfe at 10, and I still think he could get nominated. I think he's perfectly viable. From 6 to 10, it's almost like you could shake it up any way you want.
But George C. Wolfe actually has just one nomination so far from critic circles for Best Director. I kind of feel like it makes sense because although it's a well-assembled movie, you'd probably come out of Ma Rainey saying the performance is the script. It's not like George C. Wolfe's like fucking vision. He doesn't seem like the kind of auteur that they like to nominate in a way. And then Darius Marder, Sound of Metal, has actually gotten a couple nominations. You're gonna not like this, but I don't think it's impossible.
That's fine. I'm not gonna say it's impossible.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say no fucking way. Certain groups like really like Sound of Metal. Like one group gave it the most nominations. So I just like, what if the Academy just happens to be that group that loves it? Billie Holiday might not get up there into those Best Picture high ranks, and then Paul Greengrass seems like he's kind of done.
Best Actor is still Chadwick Boseman. Performance-wise, Hopkins and Delroy Lindo, maybe even Riz Ahmed would be like equally worthy of a win. But when they're kind of all like equally amazing, he takes the cake.
If anybody from this top 4 gets snubbed, it will be a fucking tragedy because this top 4 is incredible in any goddamn year. They're all getting a lot of accolades, and Riz Ahmed especially really picked up in the last couple months. This is a locked in top 4, and that 5th slot is just really up in the air.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman, I even said it a while ago, like Robert De Niro in The Irishman.
And I watched Mank again, and I don't feel like his performance stands out like all that much. I even felt like Robert De Niro stood out to me more the second time. And he's very good in Mank, but it definitely occurred to me that he could get snubbed.
From the few reactions I've heard of Judas, I've heard Lakeith Stanfield is like on par with Kalia's performance and that they're both like equally amazing. And if Judas is a contender, maybe Lakeith Stanfield gets enough hype for his first nomination. It sounds like his performance is doing a little more than we were expecting from the trailer. And Stephen Yeun is getting a good amount of nominations. He's number 5 with critics if you rank him, but he might be someone who the critics are more interested in nominating and the major awards could slip by him.
He's also more of a supporting role, so he's harder to nominate. I could see Colin Firth getting in for Supernova if people take that seriously as an acting player, which I think some people might. The studio doesn't have a history of like getting lots of Oscar nominations.
But if Tucci's really in there, then Colin Firth can come along for the ride.
Now, we haven't seen Malcolm and Marie, but that is going to be somewhere on our actor and actress predictions, just because, what if?
Kingsley Ben-Adir kind of feels dead. As great as he is in that movie, he's a member of an ensemble that's kind of equally as great. He hasn't been getting recognition from critics.
People are saying Tahar Rahim is really good in the Mauritanian, that he deserves a nomination. And he was also in A Prophet. But we don't really know what the Mauritanian is, so it's hard to make that leap.
And Trevante Rhodes is probably going to be lead because he was submitted there for the Golden Globes, which we know. Hard to see him getting into the category.
Tom Hanks for the News of the World is done. He is goodbye. That's not happening. Goodbye.
Not. All right, Best Actress. I just want to say off the bat that this is like maybe a 4-way race, and I can't decide who to put at number 1. It's been ambiguous if Pieces of a Woman has been qualifying for the Critics Awards because of its deadline.
I mean, I think critics would be nominating her if they saw the movie, if they counted it, because people are just like singing her praises for this performance. I mean, apparently she's like insane, but I really think we need to take seriously, and perhaps I haven't in the past, just because 3 actress wins would put McDormand among like the top Academy Awards actress winners and acting winners in general. But she can win, I think, for Nomadland. I think we could see it start to go in her favor. Kind of like with 3 Billboards, we had her versus Sally Hawkins, and we were thinking maybe Sally Hawkins because she doesn't have the Oscar, but then it was like, no, McDormand, we like her better. We like this performance the best.
And let's take a look at the tallies, shall we? She has 8 fucking wins.
She's like actually sweet. Oh my goodness.
Sweeping.
If she wins, her nomination to win ratio will be like Daniel Day-Lewis par. Davis, I am not feeling her winning for this just because it's a smaller role where you don't feel like you've completely like experienced like an entire character as much as you do for, let's say, Chadwick Boseman in the movie. It's just because that's the role. And she should get nominated because she's excellent in it. It's a very entertaining performance, but I don't see her winning for it anymore.
I don't think it's impossible, though. I think we're going to see some major splitting here. Like, I don't think McDormand's going to sweep. I don't think Kirby's going to sweep. I think we're going to see some crazy splitting. Even Carey Mulligan could take a couple awards, to be honest.
I still think the top two actually does stand out to me, though, more than the others, and it might be splitting between those two, McDormand and Kirby.
Maybe these people are optimists, but some people are thinking Carey Mulligan could win.
I don't know if that performance struck me as like an Oscar-worthy performance, as it has for many.
Andra Day still sits at number 5, because even if the movie's like, 60 or 70 on Metacritic or something, she's probably going to still be giving like this tour de force fucking performance.
Yeah, I think she'll get nominated.
Unless Zendaya. And why is Zendaya number 6? It's because nobody else is a formidable contender. Amy Adams and Hillbilly Elegy I have at 7 just in case they like it too much. Sophia Loren's like, where's the life ahead? It's kind of dead. Sorry. Sydney Flanagan, I just sort of kind of threw her on here because she has been getting some awards, but I don't think really she has a shot. Robin Wright in Land is yet to be seen, and I feel like no. Kate Winslet, Ammonite's been completely missing from anything, hasn't gotten any nomination anywhere so far. Pfeiffer's not happening, and Meryl Streep's dead. So I feel like Zendaya actually has a shot, and so she's number 6. And just like Best Actor, I have to commend this top 4. I mean, my goodness, what an excellent Best Actress lineup. Supporting Actress, Amanda Seyfried, number 1. Or is she?
I think she's number 1. I could see her winning. Having seen the movie again, she's still like very fun to watch. It kind of has that like supporting actress winner feel to it. Some people are like, well, maybe she doesn't do enough. And it's like, yeah, but she's in just enough scenes. And in all of those scenes, you're like treasuring that. The sort of like career change, I guess. The fact that she's kind of young and she has lots of potential. I think she's a front runner.
I don't know how I feel about that, because I feel like that'd be like an okay win.
No, I agree. It wouldn't be the best.
Other people in this category,
it wouldn't be the best. It's because the other people in the category, like, I'm not as sold on them.
I guess Olivia Colman's number 2 because she just seems like very sturdy, like she's getting in. I don't know if she could win, maybe. I personally think she's better than Amanda Seyfried. I'd probably say that about Glenn Close too, and Ye Jung Yoon at least. Burst in Pieces of a Woman. She's going to get nominated, and she will be the oldest nominee in the category.
When it was brought up to her by an interviewer, like, oh, you're going to be the oldest nominee if you get nominated. And she was like, well, that's great. I want to inspire other old people to like keep living their dreams. And, maybe we'll even see her get nominated again before her time is up.
And then we have the critics' sweeper darlings. Ye Jung Yoon and Maria Baklava are cleaning the fucking house with winning awards. They both have 6 wins, cleaning the house. The only person with another win is Amanda Seyfried. But Maria Baklava, that kind of feels like a Lupita thing, where she was getting the most awards out of any actress for us, but it was such a genre movie that they weren't keen on nominating anywhere else, that she just didn't get it at the end of the day. But Ye Jung Yoon, I feel like if Minari gets in, she just has to get in.
But I also don't think it's necessarily, it's Maria or it's Ye Jung, because Glenn Close doesn't have to get nominated.
Oh, I don't know. I feel
she doesn't have to. I agree that she's number 4, but she doesn't have to. People are gonna be really upset if Baklava does not get nominated.
That's such a ballsy, out there, weird, funny performance. It would be unlike anything they've ever nominated. I would be like kind of rejoicing, but I also be fearing who'd be snubbed. Dominique Fishback, the unseen factor kind of puts her high, and also there's some good buzz developing around her performance here. So I guess she's a possibility. And then Jodie Foster in The Mauritanian. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Really?
From what I've heard, it's like Tahar Rahim is like the king of the movie, and she's also good, but I don't think they have to nominate her, Natasha Lyonne, I haven't heard anything about this performance.
I think from here on, it's like no one's really gonna like break in.
Yeah, like Candice Bergen, there was mild chatter when the movie came out. That's dead.
No, the last 3 you have on here completely dead.
Yeah, I kind of
Zangle, no. Bergen, no. Ronan, dead. Absolute pipe dream.
Supporting actor, we got a bit of a scramble going on here, folks. So Daniel Kaluuya really, really seems like he could win for this. I'm eagerly anticipating the reviews saying, give him the Oscar.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, okay?
Because who else? Like, if it weren't him, it would probably be Leslie Odom Jr. or Sacha Baron Cohen. Because they're both picking up a pretty good amount of nominations. They're looking solid. Sacha Baron Cohen is campaigning in a way that none of the other trial boys are doing.
It really might just be him at this point.
Yeah. And I actually am not the biggest fan of that idea because Sacha Baron Cohen's great. I think he's one of the highlights of the movie, but where's Mark Rylance? Like, where's Yahya Abdul-Mateen? Like, they are actually not really getting nominated very much. Could this change with major awards? Like, will the SAGs nominate Mark Rylance? Could somebody rebound him? Perhaps.
And I think on that note, Frank Langella has as good of a chance as anybody else who could get nominated for that movie.
Yeah.
Just because people like him. He plays like an angry, like huffing, puffing judge. He doesn't stand out necessarily to me, but he seems to others. Look out for it. I think it's going to happen somewhere.
Chadwick Boseman is number 4 because he is showing that he can get these nominations.
You put him at number 4.
Yes, he has 2 wins right now, and he has the 3rd most nominations.
You actually did convince me of that earlier, because sometimes I see performances in movies and I'm like, there's no way that gets nominated for an Oscar, and then people like, it's getting nominated everywhere. Scarlett Johansson and Jojo Rabbit, I was like, no, that's not going to happen, and then she got nominated everywhere. It was weird to me. I don't really agree with it. I think it is just because of his passing. Nonetheless, that's what's happening. So
there was not really any buzz for him when the movie came out. There was more buzz for other supporting players. Chadwick Boseman's still really good in the movie. He just didn't really have enough screen time to make that sort of impression, but this is what people are doing.
Paul Raci, I need this now. Like, I actually need it now. If I don't get it, I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be really upset. Not only was he like my favorite of anybody in this category, we haven't seen Kaluuya yet. He's like such a good, nice person who has been acting in Hollywood forever. His time has just never really come, except for now, I guess. And this role was like made for him. I hope they will continue to put him out there because he can do it.
But he's got the most nominations. We have 6 wins for Paul Raci. The critics
by a lot
did a fantastic job of making sure that he's not forgotten. Giving him the wins.
That's why critics awards are important.
Stanley Tucci in Supernova was, I think maybe I had him at number 2 last time because there's some buzz that he could win. It's unclear how much that movie is going to be like out there and be put in front of people's faces. Maybe he doesn't get it at the end of the day.
It's kind of a random example, but like 20th Century Woman with Annette Bening, people were saying maybe this is her Oscar win. And then because like the movie wasn't huge, she just didn't get nominated.
Mark Rylance, I think, still has a shot.
And I still think that Langella is just as likely as him.
If you say so.
I think they're interchangeable.
If you say so. Even Bill Murray at number 8 feels wrong because Bill Murray actually has the second most nominations out of anybody.
And he really deserves it. He's probably one of my favorites in this category.
It's just one of those things where I came away from On the Rocks thinking no nominations. And that's happened before. I thought it about Us, and I was right about Us.
Yeah, like the movie feels like it gets no nominations. But he's worthy. I think he should get nominated.
David Strathairn, he has shown up a couple times for a nomination, but I just don't think that he's doing enough in that movie. He doesn't have an Oscar scene. He just doesn't. And Glenn Turman and Ma Rainey won the LA Film Critics. That was a really big deal because he wasn't getting anything before then. He actually hasn't gotten anything since then, so I'm not sure there's much sustaining hype for him.
Screenplay, Sorkin might win again. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that. I guess I'm cool with it. I don't know. What?
Okay, here's what's happening.
Oh, you're gonna make the case for Promising Young Woman.
There is a big case for Promising Young Woman, and if you don't see it, I'm sorry for you. Okay, it's Get Out, and it's also that it has the most wins for any original screenplay thus far. In the nomination tallies, we have 4 wins.
I think too many people see it as like a flawed movie. And also, just Chicago 7's going to win because it's like a picture contender. And you win screenplay when you win Best Picture.
That's why I have it at number 1. Because if Chicago 7 wins picture, of course it's winning.
And also,
screenplay.
Chicago 7's a good movie like because of the screenplay, not because of the directing.
If Promising Young Woman wins screenplay, you can say goodbye to Chicago 7 winning.
That's true.
It's like when Get Out won. And then 3 Billboards chances were just out the fucking window. I do think that it's Promising Young Woman versus Chicago 7 now.
No, Trial of Chicago 7 can still win screenplay and not Best Picture.
I'm not sure about that.
I don't think Bank will win, even though it was so like witty and like intellectual. And I actually really enjoyed like the writing in that movie. But overall, Mank, it's like, what's the point? Minari, that's gonna get nominated because when you look at the ones below this, you're like, what's gonna be? Judas, if it gets in. Yeah, number 5, if it gets in. We don't know if it gets in. Soul, is right there wanting to take its place. And that could easily happen. I mean, I would have Soul at number 5 right now just because Judas hasn't come out. But, you know, it's your opinion. It's your list. You do what you want with that.
This is actually the first time I've had Soul not in the top 5. If its best picture chances aren't that strong, you know.
No, I think a screenplay is easy. I think it's easy.
Because Inside Out got one and didn't get a picture, I get it. But if they want to throw in Sound of Metal or Judas, like buy Soul. That's just how it's going to be.
The only reason that would happen is if they get picture nominated. That's the only way I could see them overtaking Soul. And I don't think Five Bloods is going to get screenplay even if it does get picture.
Yeah. Palm Springs actually like somewhat of a hope for that, I guess.
We're a little bit done after this point because like Malcolm and Marie, I guess that kind of makes sense to have on there, like looking out for it, just keeping an eye on it.
On the Rocks, I'm ready to give the boot to right here.
Bye. What's even the point? And Nomadland will win adapted screenplay.
Nomadland is not a typical screenplay movie. It's the kind of movie that wins director like Roma maybe, but doesn't win screenplay. But when we look at the category, we actually don't have anything we'd rather give it to. It actually has the most wins out of any movie for screenplay right now. It just doesn't feel like Ma Rainey or The Father or One Night in Miami can win screenplay, you know?
Number 5 is really hard. I'm Thinking of Anything's and First Cow have both gotten a lot of screenplay nominations. I'm Thinking of Anything's has gotten a lot. And for the first time since I saw it, I'm saying it might not get goose egged. It might actually still get a screenplay nomination, but only because the competition isn't insane. First Cow could also get nominated. I have seen First Cow 2 times. It's a very good movie. It is not for everybody. That's a hard sell, I think, for the Academy voters. I mean, First Cow is like really an indie film. But they could find something like Hillbilly Elegy for screenplay, or Billie Holiday even seems like an easy sell in comparison to I'm Thinking of Ending Things,
or The Mauritanian.
A totally depressing and confusing movie.
What about The Mauritanian though? Like, what if that's
I
don't know. First Cow also has a great narrative to nominate Kelly Reichardt. She's been fucking chugging along in the indie scene for like 2 decades. Hasn't gotten a lick of attention from the Academy. It would be really cool to see her get a screenplay nomination. It'd be like a great way to acknowledge First Cow to some degree.
First Cow should get nominated for like cinematography and art direction.
What if it gets like director?
As a lone director, as like a director contender?
And no best picture,
I don't know. Maybe.
Interesting stuff. It would be underwhelming as fuck if after all of this, News of the World gets the number 5 slot. It's their comfort zone. It's their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
The opportunity to nominate I'm Thinking of Anything's in First Cow, even though I'm really skeptical, is very exciting for me.
That would be like a bone to throw to First Cow or Ending Things if they do get any bones at all.
You know, I got bones from I'm Thinking of Anything's. Cinematography. It's Mank vs. Nomadland, and I don't know which to put it in.
I agree with this. Mank has really impressive cinematography, and I read a like Variety or IndieWire article that was like an interview with a cinematographer, and it's fascinating. But like, so is Nomadland. Like, the camera work in Nomadland is fucking gorgeous, and it's like impeccable. Like, there are these just like pans from like a face into like the distance that I'm like, oh shit, that camera operator is on something.
I'm actually rooting for Nomadland in this category.
I kind of am too. Nomadland is all natural lighting and like practical lighting that is kind of like blended into the scene. And there's lots of camera movement. Whereas Mank is like all of Fincher's films, like very locked down, very like precise. You know? But Mank is like, you know, made in studios where you control a lot of the lighting. And Nomadland is like almost like a completely different approach to cinematography. So just interesting that we have those kind of like dueling.
Nomadland is sweeping with critics. Mank has the second most wins. I guess, of course, we expect the critic circles to be, you know, giving Nomadland all these awards. And if you think about it, if the critics decided Oscars, at this rate, we'd see Nomadland in 5. Cinematography, actress, picture, director, screenplay. You can't take the critics awards maybe too seriously because it's kind of doubtful that Nomadland wins 5 Oscars. I really think that if we didn't have a weird year where we kicked out French Dispatch, West Side Story, Dune, there'd be no way Tenet would be making it in here. I really think that it just would not get it, like how Interstellar got snubbed. But Tenet is getting those nominations. And then maybe it should get nominated this year because it's a really great looking movie. You don't have to like the story to appreciate the cinematography of Tenet. And News of the World is just absolutely gorgeous looking. Again, you don't have to appreciate the story to appreciate the cinematography here.
That's an easy one.
And The Five Bloods is number 5 because it's getting a good amount of nominations. It's kind of deserving, I would say.
Yeah, The Five Bloods has good cinematography for sure, I think. But what I would like to see in here is First Cow. You know, I watched that movie a second time and I was like, holy shit, the colors. Like, oh my God. It's a delicious, tasty, like, autumnal treat.
Good vocab.
But we could also see Judas and the Black Messiah here because that's Sean Bobbitt. He hasn't been nominated before. And the cinematography looks really good in that movie.
Trial of Chicago 7's winning editing no matter what. Ford v Ferrari won, even though Parasite was like the runner-up, because they give it to the movie with the most editing. And Trial has the most editing.
It's an edited movie. You don't even have to think, oh, is it well edited? Is it not well? Like, it's an edited movie. Nomadland, also really interesting editing. Another nomination for Chloe Zhao for sure. And Nomadland is probably a lot of like shaping the story too. Whereas Trial of Chicago 7, I'm sure they're working off of a very tight script where everything is very planned out where it's going to go. Nomadland was probably much more interesting to assemble. Also, you have Mank. I mean, that has great editing. It's a surprisingly like fast paced and fast cut movie for how kind of like drab it is.
People love the old movie editing in there too. They love that shit.
Yeah.
The Father's number 4 because it's actually been getting some nominations. It picked up a win even because there's like a narrative to how the editing is helping capture the feeling of like disorientation and putting you in the protagonist's head. And
you know, that kind of narrative has been also made for I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which won't get an editing nomination, but which deserves it.
Number 5 is Judas because that is like a thriller.
Judas is number like 5 and 6 for a lot of stuff.
Exactly. That's why I could get a picture nomination. That's what I'm saying here. Sometimes they just give it to movies for being like best picture contenders, and Ma Rainey, we could see that happen. One Night in Miami, maybe. Sound of Metal has like a couple, which is kind of interesting.
Dang, editing is weak this year. I think The Father seems like pretty locked in compared to these.
Oh, The Five Bloods has no nominations. Well, that's weird. Tenet has the 3rd most nominations, and it makes me put my finger on my chin. It really does. I just feel like Tenet would have no shot getting editing because the Academy's not going to like the movie. It just feels like editing is the technical that they need to like it to nominate it there. Score, Soul is absolutely winning. Absolutely sweeping the Critics Awards. It has 7 wins. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are getting double nominated. Remember when Desplat got double nominated and then he won? And there's a clear consensus that Soul is like the better score. It's the one that you're going to listen to more. It's more pleasing to the ears. It would be a great win. Tenet better fucking happen. What an amazing score. The movie might as well not even like exist and the score still gets nominated just for being amazing. And then Minari like kind of has to happen, you know, like even if the movie doesn't get picture, like Beale Street still got score just for being like gorgeous and amazing.
Emile Mosseri needs to get nominated so that people know if I want to get nominated for score, I get him to do the music and so that I can listen to it on Spotify because his music is amazing.
I need Emile Mosseri to score almost every movie from now on.
And Nicholas Britell.
The Five Bloods, we didn't really like the score that much. It stands out and people are nominating it anyway, so it could be nominated. But The Midnight Sky has kind of the same thing where some people don't like the score. However, it's probably like somewhat in the Academy's wheelhouse to nominate something like that. And
it's
Desplat is just someone you nominate.
Desplat. It's actually very easy for me to see that getting nominated.
Although Five Bloods, I am definitely looking out for.
Trial is worthy of like being on there as a maybe. It could be an outside shot, but Hillbilly Elegy, hell no.
I'm still going to keep it on there though. But Trial, I think, is going to be something that I would need to wait to see how it plays out at like the Globes and stuff.
I think production design going to Mank is like, we're done.
Yep.
We check out. We're done. We don't even need to like say anything. I mean, every inch of the frame is like has a fucking object in it. That's interesting.
Do you know how many movies have won a production design award so far with critics? 1, and it's Mank every single time. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did Hollywood shit. La La Land did Hollywood shit. Mank's doing Hollywood shit. Ma Rainey makes sense. Mulan has big ass sets from what I've seen. I have not seen the movie. News of the World could happen. I think that they should nominate News of the World for sure. Could The Father get nominated? Sort of like how people were like, hey, you need to recognize Parasite. Like you might not think it at first, but if you really think about it, like the production design is everything in that movie. I think The Father would be a really cool pick for production design, but this category is kind of up in the air, and I can see anything from like The Midnight Sky, which has Antarctica and like space shit in it. Or Emma, which could get costumes and has like a lot of set shit. Five Bloods.
Talk about a not acclaimed space movie that got production design. Passengers.
Oh shit, yeah.
If Passengers can get score and production design, why can't The Midnight Sky? That's sad that we don't have First Cow anywhere because that was something. That was something.
Should be. And then we have costume design, which is sort of more ambiguous. Like, I think that it could go to Ma Rainey, maybe Emma, but Mank feels safe. Mank feels like it could still win costume design. I'm probably going to end up going with whatever the Critics' Choice picks. Mulan could get costumes pretty easily. News of the World, maybe. But also, maybe Billie Holiday gets it. Birds of Prey, I think, is not impossible. Ammonite is kind of dead. Makeup, going to Ma Rainey. It's going to Ma Rainey. Hillbilly Elegy is getting nominated because of
Number
the makeup
2.
on the
Wow.
actresses. I mean, it's just going to get nominated. Like, why wouldn't it, right? Bill and Ted, I've been shown photo and video evidence that it has, like, really good makeup. So, I kind of want to put it on there.
And we have 5 slots now.
Birds of Prey could get it, just like Suicide Squad. Mank could get it, just for like Amanda Seyfried, I guess. Borat could also see a nomination here. Some people think Promising Young Woman could get nominated. I get like the nurse wig and stuff, and sometimes the makeup's good, but it's not like, prosthetic.
That's almost more like costumes or something.
Mulan could get it too, I think. But I'm actually going to throw on, just for me, I'm thinking of ending things.
Because they had fake old people makeup in it.
They also had real old people makeup, and the
That's
real
true.
old people makeup was really good. But they didn't nominate Synecdoche, New York, did they? And that had phenomenal old people makeup. Sound is going to Sound of Metal. It's asking for the award because it's in the title. Mank's going to get nominated for doing the old movie thing, having like the mono track and all that stuff.
It's also like, what's the most reliant on sound and what's like a memorable use of sound? I mean, Sound of Metal, I think.
Some people still think Tenet can win. I don't agree because of the controversy around like the mixing. News of the World, maybe.
Greyhound probably has more sound work than like most of these films.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much they'll care. Maybe they will see it as like a standalone sound achievement.
Yeah, it's just so not Oscar-y, The Midnight Sky could still definitely get
There's a lot of interesting ones in here. Like I'm seeing Soul and I'm thinking Soul did have good sound.
Five Bloods is literally a war movie, but they played too much music over everything, so we couldn't hear the sound.
Interesting you have Invisible Man on here. I saw that in Dolby Theater, and like the sound was phenomenal to me, having that experience, but I never thought it would get nominated for an Oscar.
Original song, Speak Now from One Night in Miami is getting the most nominations and wins so far. Rocket to the Moon from Over the Moon is going to happen. Trial Chicago 7 song, yeah, that could happen. And why do I have Eurovision Song Contest on here? Why is that? It's fun enough and memorable enough for people that it might get nominated, even though they don't like the movie that much.
We don't always have an original song category that's this like not front-runnery. Like often there's just a song in a movie like Rocket Man where you can give it to Elton John, or there's a song in a musical that the Academy nominates that's going to win. Maybe you want to look out for original song category when you're trying to bet money on those underdogs.
But that's why people think Scene is a front runner, is because there's no front runner, so give it to Diane Warren. But honestly, I'm not that confident that she even gets nominated. And then we have Turntables from All In Fight for Democracy, which might get nominated for documentary, and it's also Janelle Monáe. And we have Just Sing from Trolls. Wear Your Crown from The Prom. Why do I not have this on? Because I just feel like people don't actually think it's that good of a song. People don't actually care. It'll get a Golden Globe nomination.
Prom's a fun movie. Calm down.
Visual effects. I have Tenet at number 1 because Midnight Sky doesn't have good reviews. Even the audiences don't like it that much. The space movies win a lot, but like First Man and Blade Runner, like those were really well liked movies. They do like Nolan's visual effects a lot. I don't know. I still think it's a toss up between those two.
Yeah, this category is pretty weak because all the blockbusters fled into next year.
Even Wonder Woman, there's no way that would get nominated in another year because people like hate that movie. But this year, it just might as well because it's like the only blockbuster superhero movie that came out this year.
Oh yeah, that definitely gets nominated.
But Mulan gets nominated because it's like a $200 million whatever. And Greyhound maybe gets nominated because it's a big budget ship thing. And maybe Birds of Prey, though. They had like a hyena. The Invisible Man should get nominated and might get nominated because...
Yeah, some of the scenes in that movie were fucking cool.
The Invisible Man has 2 awards. and Tenet has 2 awards.
But that's kind of because Invisible Man's like an interesting use of visual effects. It could be like an Ex Machina thing.
I don't buy Sonic the Hedgehog, and I feel like Ivan and Call of the Wild are it's just too like Disney kids for the Oscars. They don't want that. They don't want to nominate that.
It's interesting because for visual effects, it's kind of like Best Picture. It's like all about making your case for what you did that was interesting. They're not going to vote for you just because you have a lot of visual effects. They want a narrative.
And when I think about it that way, I think maybe I should take off Wonder Woman and put on The Invisible Man, because I feel like if they showed me what they did for The Invisible Man, I'd be like, hell fucking yeah. Animated feature. Soul is winning. Wolfwalkers actually started out looking like a really strong frontrunner among critics groups. Soul actually is beating Wolfwalkers with critics, and it's going to win the Oscar. Over the Moon and Onward are also just kind of locks at this point. Like, what else do we have? The Croods 2. All right.
Yikes.
The first Croods got nominated, by the way.
Sure.
And this one actually, people think it's pretty good.
Pretty above the Farmageddon.
Yeah, because what is that? Like, nobody really saw it. Actually, Croods has gotten a couple nominations so far. So it's
really?
Yeah. And the Shaun the Sheep only has 1. Earwig and the Witch is not going to happen. I think people are not really liking it that much so far. Documentary. We got lots of critics awards given to documentaries this year, and among them, the strongest ones are Time, Dick Johnson, Collective, Boys State, and all of those are in my top 4. I don't know if it's necessarily going to go that way. All In the Fight for Democracy seems like something that could be a crowd pleaser and also resonate to people because we just had an election year. I think that one can definitely get in.
People are saying like, thank you, Stacey Abrams. Like, you're the reason why Georgia just went blue. Like, she's the reason that she got so many people to turn out for voting.
So you're telling me that this gives the movie an extra boost.
Oh yeah. For sure.
Could perhaps skyrocket it to a win or something is what you're telling.
Well, I don't know about a win. I don't know. No. I don't know about a win, but it definitely makes the movie timely.
And Collective is actually a foreign film submission, might get nominated in both categories, just like Honeyland. Totally Under Control feels like it had a moment, but it just kind of faded away. International feature, Another Round is gonna win. People love the movie more so than any other movie in this category. I'm No Longer Here, which I actually watched, is very good, and I really hope it gets nominated. Collective, that really critically acclaimed documentary that could see a double nomination. Night of the King seems to have like a good bit of momentum. Might check that one out at Sundance. Quo Vadis Ida is a Bosnian wartime film that people generally like a lot. We'll have to see how this category plays out, but I feel like the top 7 I'm like sort of good on right now. SAG Ensemble.
Yeah, I think Trial of Chicago 7 is like an easy SAG winner. Trial's going to be the front runner until the end, and Ma Rainey would be the surprise.
One Night in Miami seems pretty easy. I guess they could surprise snub it. Like, I mean, they snubbed The Favorite. It was freaking weird. They do a lot of weird stuff.
Oh my God, they're so weird sometimes, yeah. They do favor movies that split the leads between like a lot of people. I mean, Bombshell or The Big Short, that's like their thing. So maybe One Night in Miami is kind of comparable to that.
I think that the SAG Ensemble Award this year is actually going to be something I'm really looking out for, because if Minari gets it, I'll be like, yeah, that's getting Best Picture.
I think Minari has a pretty good shot, actually.
If The Five Bloods doesn't get nominated, which I'm currently predicting, slightly, then I'd be like, yeah, no. But if it got in, I'd be really raising my eyebrows saying, could this get into Best Picture?
And I think it definitely might get ensemble. That movie has an ensemble of anything.
Yeah.
I mean, even Jean Reno is in it for like a random section. I feel like that movie you should put at number 5. Instead of Promising Young Women, because that's a little much for me to swallow.
It's a lot, but you gotta hear me out right now. I feel like it's that kind of weird thing that we don't quite see coming, and in some ways, Promising Young Women does have a deserving ensemble.
The first time you said this, I was like, "Fuck you!" Like, shut up.
I know you were.
No, but now I'm like, I kind of agree. I kind of do agree. Even Get Out, where like no one else really had hype except for Daniel Kaluuya, it got nominated just because they like the movie a lot, and there's a lot of like supporting performances mixed in there.
And what is Mank doing at number 7? Mank
feels you really
like
it feels like a snub, like The Master or The Favorite, or I mean they do it all the time.
I'll throw in
Steve
a couple
Jobs.
more. Steve, The Shape of Water, okay, and La La Land, like a Marriage Story. Don't even get me started on Marriage Story.
No, you just reminded me. I'm sad now.
But listen to me. There were hints and breadcrumbs at like, maybe this is going to happen. A lot of the critics groups give out ensemble awards, and not all of them nominated Marriage Story or The Shape of Water. It was fucking weird.
Yep.
It was like,
Yep.
why are you not doing this?
And it was scary, but we did see it coming a little.
And I just looked at my list, and Mank doesn't have a single fucking nomination for
Oh,
Ensemble, which I didn't even
my.
realize.
And if only Mangrove could get nominated. If only.
Could Judas get nominated? That's very possible, I think.
I still think Hillbilly Elegy could get nominated for SAG Ensemble. Like, it actually does make a lot of sense when you think about
I
it.
agree.
It has
I agree.
an ensemble. It has a lot of performances in there that are very good.
Even The Prom, I think I can kind of see, although The Prom feels dead.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to reject that.
And those are our Oscar predictions for January.
We'll have one or two more nominations predictions, and then the nominations will have happened. And these are really what we pride ourselves on being right about. I think they're more fun to predict than the actual winners.
We did very well in them last year, didn't we? Top rank in the Gold Derby.
We did pretty well. Top 15, both of us.
Be sad if I don't live up to that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Are you predictable?